The best thing about living in Sodas Point,
The best part of this, what is nice, is having water right outside your door.
these days, is also the worst thing about living in Sodas Point.
We're watching the water rise slowly. We've started to have street flooding.
Joan Eckbert's problem is the same one shared by many here.
So we just want to, just have a little bit of a dialogue.
Which is why federal, state, and local officials met Thursday to offer help in the wake of waters which are rising at 0.4 of an inch each day.
They're willing to help with whatever they can. It's one of those things that it's a moving target right now. The water's still rising.
So they're worried about their property. And then they're worried about what's going to happen in the years to come. I mean, this is not a new issue.
Emergency officials met with residents and toured some of the most fragile areas of Sodas Point. Places where protective measures are already in place.
This is a great job. They've done a good job in the protection they did along the building.
But with rain, wind, and large waves predicted in the coming days, there's concern that the barricades in place won't be enough.
So we all know that there's a problem. We all know it's going to get worse before it gets better. What are we going to do?
This is definitely the fall to Plan 2014. And anybody that's doubting that doesn't know what they're talking about.
Local leaders are also asking the state to keep pressing the International Joint Commission, which controls water levels on Lake Ontario. Many continue to blame the IJC for contributing to this mess.
Had we done this months ago, we all knew this was going to be the result of Plan 2014 and heavy precipitations. We should have been on top of this months ago.
People who live here and local and state officials are all resigned to the fact that they're probably not going to get much relief in the short term when it comes to lake levels. Still, state leaders say they'll help in any way they can.
And we're going to go back and talk now about what else we can do, but it is fundamentally a federal government issue.
Right now, the worst part of lakeshore living may be knowing what's coming.
This was a promise that was made to the people 60 years ago.
Right. Residents of Sodas Point appreciate all the help they can get.
I'm glad they're here. I'm glad they're aware of the situation and taking an interest in it. As to whether anything comes of this, that's kind of a wait-and-see proposition.
Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News.
It's incredible to live on the water and, look out at the water.
Those are the reasons
I always wanted to live on the water.
why Ellen Thomas bought her home on Irondequoit Bay last year.
It's just very peaceful normally down here.
Peaceful doesn't pertain to this year.
At some point, we might have to barricade the house.
This is Ellen's front yard. A front yard which looked like this just last year.
This is all lawn, and now it's not.
And water levels continue to rise.
It's still coming under, though.
A little bit.
Putting bayfront residents in peril.
There's not a lot we can do. Like to do what we can.
Some neighbors have it worse. Some homes are already flooded. Sandbags provide little relief from ever-creeping waters.
The only thing that can make this worse is people contributing to the problem.
Flooding for Thomas and other Irondequoit Bay residents is one thing, but there's another situation which they say is making matters even worse.
We were here yesterday afternoon and at least 5 boats came by.
Ellen's sister took this video Wednesday. Bay residents have complained about speeding boats.
So I can't imagine what they're thinking to do that right now when you see people in such dire straits.
Neighbors have called for stricter speed limits on the bay.
Because right now, boats flying down, you can imagine, waves just come over everyone's barriers.
Less than 1 hour after we spoke about it,
I'd like to again welcome you.
at a news conference on another flood-related issue, local officials were asked about it, while Ellen Thomas looked on.
That will require a declaration of a state of emergency.
Irondequoit Town Supervisor Dave Seeley and leaders in Webster and Penfield agree, instituting a no-wake order for boats on Irondequoit Bay.
With the bay, the water level just keeps rising, so any ripple effect really has an impact, and we're starting to see that. And as we move towards boating season, we don't want to compound the problem any further.
We need an idle only on this bay. Boaters are sending waves over the sandbags into our houses.
Quality of life is what draws people to the waterfront.
So it's been very stressful down here.
Preserving that keeps Irondequoit Bay residents fighting.
And we're just trying to manage as best we can.
Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News.
I know like 200-300 people that are coming here.
between now and tonight. So what information can you give us?
Like many in the town of Greece,
Okay, I got $50,000 worth of damage.
Joe Bergio came here looking for relief.
They got caught with their pants down. Now everybody's denying this.
He didn't find it.
I canceled an appointment to come out here, and they told me basically everything I knew.
Neither did Gail Wiebring.
We're at our wits' end. I don't know where to go.
Another Lake Ontario homeowner hurt by high waters.
I think we've asked every question.
Insurance won't cover the damage.
And the way it came on the radio and TV, I thought they would take us to the next step of getting some funding. But now when we get here, they say no, it's only to help you with your insurance.
Many thought they'd get answers regarding an emergency assistance bill passed by the state Senate.
I'm just asking you. I'm trying to be as nice as possible.
Bergio lives on Edgemere Drive, where his basement is now flooded. 3 pumps push water out past a lakefront deck, warped when waves pummeled his now crumbling break wall.
And now they're trying to blame it on Mother Nature, and that's completely not true.
I think as this goes on longer and longer each week, people grow weary. It becomes tiresome that they're dealing with this and maybe not having success they'd like to have.
By definition, one of the duties of the State Department of Financial Services is to help ensure that insurance providers fulfill any financial obligations to flood victims. But as many are finding out, that's easier said than done.
We already know, anybody with common sense knows, when your insurance company says, we're not paying, hands up on you, they're not paying.
It depends on their policy, their coverage. There's so many factors involved. And again, we're not insurance experts. We just wanted to bring some people in, and the governor offered that to assist the people. Whether they get satisfaction or not, we hope they would, but I can't control that.
So what should we do, not pay our taxes for like 5 years and then get our damages back?
Along the lakeshore, that won't make things better.
You just want to sit and cry, but it won't do you any good. So.
Waters still rise. So do frustrations.
It seems like these guys don't know nothing about it, like I know more than they do. So to me, it was kind of waste of time to come out here.
Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News. In front of a house on Northampton Street,
this is a lifestyle.
A group of guys who have one thing in common.
It's bikes up, guns down, stop the violence.
Riding motorcycles for good, they say, which is why they're mad about an incident involving member Alexander Garys, caught Easter Sunday on this video camera.
I didn't even think that this was going to happen, and then it just happened out of nowhere.
The clip shows 2 Rochester police officers pulling Garys off his dirt bike, which he had been riding on a city street.
And that's when I got snatched off my bike, and one of the officers punched me in my ribs, and they were just standing on me, stomping on me, kicking me.
Garys says the officers told him the bike had been stolen. He has the title to it.
I looked behind me, I'm like, what the hell did I do?
Now Rochester police have launched an investigation.
Whenever an officer uses force, that officer has an obligation to articulate the justification for the force.
Police Chief Michael Simonelli addressed the video brought to his attention this week by Spectrum News.
Rochester police officers used force, and we have to look into whether it was justified.
The 2 officers involved in the incident have been suspended with pay while the department looks into it.
By no means is this a disciplinary action. It does not and should not be used to imply that we've made a finding. What we're saying is we need more answers, and until we get those answers, this is the status they'll be in.
The police chief would not release the names of the 2 officers involved in the incident. In the meantime, Garys says he has contacted attorneys and may sue.
When they pulled me off my bike, my arm came out, my arm popped out of the socket.
After being held for a short time, Garys was issued a ticket for unlicensed operation and released. He doesn't feel responsible.
No, because I wasn't doing anything wrong.
What he would accept is an apology from police, though he's not holding his breath.
They can't say they're sorry because, you know, they wasn't sorry when they was doing it. But, you know what I mean, at least have some consideration or something. But other than that, if they say apologies, I'm accept it and just keep my party moving.
Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News.
Really, I never seen nobody walk this road back then.
The search began Friday and drew the curious, like neighbor Sam Greer.
It looked like the prime place for someone to place a body back there. Figured nobody would go back there and find her.
The digging took place off a dead-end dirt road on the outskirts of Georgetown, South Carolina, 40 miles south of where Brittany Drexel was last seen in 2009.
We're here, obviously, to look for evidence. And beyond what specific evidence we're looking for, I'm not going to comment on.
A hotel lobby camera provided the last known photo of of the Chilai teen who was 17 when she went to Myrtle Beach on spring break. The FBI says Drexel was abducted and murdered.
I just hope sometime that they will find whatever they're looking for to give this family some kind of closure.
Going on for 8 years now, and you know, the family wants resolution here. I don't think there's ever closure.
By Sunday afternoon, the FBI was finished with the search. The area littered with trash, abandoned houses, and a trailer sits on the property. The FBI wouldn't say specifically what was found during the 3-day search, but they say it was helpful, like many other searches have been, to their investigation.
During the last 3 days, we have progressed the investigation. We've advanced it. We're not going to discuss what we found or what we did not find.
Don Wood, the FBI's supervising special agent based in Columbia, South Carolina, did say the search turned up, quote, new leads in Brittany's disappearance and killing.
It's a terrible thing for someone to have to do something like that to a young, beautiful girl, you know.
Agents say someone in South Carolina's Low Country knows something. They're banking on a $25,000 reward, which still stands, and continued investigation to solve the nearly 8-year-old mystery of what happened to Brittany Drexel.
As I said, we're confident we're getting closer to resolving this matter and holding those accountable and bringing them to justice.
Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News.
I want customers to have a good time and come back and let them have a good time again.
There are some people
So, how are you?
who just know how to brighten up your day.
Everyone has a crazy day. It's a good day today.
At Hart's Local Grocers,
Change, receipt, here's your drink.
Rainey Walker
You go. Have a nice day.
is that guy.
I'm just being a nice guy. That's what a nice employee is supposed to do.
So that's what he does.
Rainey, he's great. He's so bubbly. He's very personable.
Well, a lot of people are coming by.
Be it chatting up customers
Crazy weather we're having.
or talking about the weather, the man named Rainey
You too, please come again.
is anything but.
Well, I just wanted the customers to want to feel the sunshine and let them brighten up their day. Lunch today?
Yes.
Oh.
Rainey started his cashier job 3 months ago.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Right before Christmas.
When we hired Rainey, I asked him, you know, what did you get for Christmas, or what did you want for Christmas specifically? The thing that he told me was that he wanted this job.
It's kind of like my greatest Christmas gift ever, of all time.
Now, you may not know it at first.
Say 1, say 2, say 3.
But Rainey
Okay, here's your change.
has a developmental disability.
It's really tough, but I just never give up.
He landed this job
You have a nice day, and please come again.
with the help of a training program at the Arc of Monroe.
I think it's super important because he gets to experience life like everybody.
And you're about to see me clean this place up.
I know that some places may be hesitant because of someone with a disability, but from what I've found is that a lot of people with disabilities tend to be the most motivated.
Rainey has a simple approach
Always respect the customers.
to the job he loves.
That's how I roll. And what I do.
Work hard.
Your yogurt and your receipt.
Be kind to others.
Love orange juice.
Yes.
Make them smile. And it'll all come back around to you.
I'm just like a tiny little engine. A little engine that could. And I made it to the top. It's classic.
Seth Voorhees,
Thank you for shopping. Please come again.
Spectrum News. There's really not much you can say
Just melted the heads right off that knucklehead.
when fire has its way.
Amazing. Amazing that the fire can do that much damage in that short a period of time.
Steve Enza lost much more than a building.
Gone.
He also lost his longtime hobby.
40 years.
The flames ripped through the South Bristol shop Friday the 13th.
Yeah. I try not to think of it.
But it's hard not to think about what the fire also took.
1990 Electra Glide Sport.
The 15 classic motorcycles.
Another knucklehead over there.
Which Steve built and restored.
62 Survey car.
Piece by piece.
All of them with fancy paint jobs on them. And gone. gone.
Enza says it's hard to explain what he enjoys most about his hobby.
These fenders and stuff, they were pristine. I mean, there wasn't a scratch or a dent in them.
The collection included 14 Harley Davidsons and 1 Indian. 5 were licensed and insured, but 10 were not.
And they're gone. And the insurance company won't cover.
That is the hardest part, the countless hours spent building the collection and the immeasurable pride placed in it.
What can you do? Sad part is that I'm 66 years old now. It'd take me another 40 years to redo it.
Investigators say a short in a battery tender may have caused the fire.
The seat was swapped out. Do you know?
That's a crossbone seat.
But with many of his bikes and most of his spare parts not covered by insurance, Enza fears his collecting days are over.
What can you do? I mean, you can cry and lay in bed. You know, what can you do? You got to move on.
Seth Voorhees, Time Warner Cable News. Forestry crews from the city of Rochester are responsible for those trees which lie between the sidewalk and the roadway within city limits. As you can imagine, following yesterday's storm, they have a lot of work to do.
A lot of trees down into the road, down onto houses. Just a lot of citywide damage.
That is what's kept city forestry crews busy since Wednesday afternoon. They have a big job ahead of them.
First and foremost, be patient. It's a lot of calls. You know, almost all of them are large trees, hazardous situations.
Situations which can include downed power lines. City Forester Brian Liberty says people need to be careful out there.
You know, I know a lot of people want to get out there with their chainsaws. Everyone should be very cognizant of downed wires. That could be live and potential threats.
Brian Liberty from the City Forestry Department tells me that crews will be out working through the weekend and beyond to clean up this mess. And once again, the best advice for people, you have to stay patient. On Meg Street in the city, Seth Voorhees, Time Warner Cable News.
This is nature. Natural disasters.
That's the best way to describe it.
It's just a disaster.
One which came fast Wednesday.
Like 1, 2, 3.
Twana Lister had experienced storms before, but
not like this. This is like crazy. This is like a movie.
With an ending she'd probably like to rewrite. A tree uprooted in 80-mile-an-hour gusts.
Yeah. I'm like looking like what?
Smashed the only thing in its way.
And we came out the door, and as soon as we came out the door and got in the car, that tree just said boom.
The fire marshal told her the rented house is no longer safe.
There's no way you can live in the house, and now the kitchen is starting to cave in.
The storm and the tree may have crushed Twana's house.
This is crazy.
It didn't crush her spirits.
I'm alive. My daughter's alive. Ain't nothing happened to my granddaughter, so I'm happy, my son. So this don't mean nothing. God is good, so I can start all over again.
See, she's been here before. 5 years ago, Twana lost everything in a house fire.
Can't have a negative attitude about it. You just got to think positive.
Where others might see loss, she sees it in a different way.
I don't know, but I just pick up the pieces and start all over again. That's all I can do. Find another place to live. Everything takes time, but it'll happen.
Seth Voorhees.
I'm not worried about it.
Time Warner Cable News. Near the Gates Rochester line is one of the most traveled areas in Monroe County.
Yeah, I was quoted at one point 30,000 cars a day.
That's just Lyle Avenue. The DOT says 200,000 cars a day go through the nearby 390-490 interchange.
It's pretty busy.
Not bad if you own a business here.
Not at all a bad thing.
Jack Cardillo's hardware store has been located here for 30 years. Outside his doors, traffic is already slow as the DOT prepares for a major project, which includes the replacement of 2 bridges and reconfiguration of on-off ramps and traffic patterns.
Well, yeah, it's a little confused. You know, it was designed probably 40 years ago, and you know, the traffic's increased and the traffic patterns have changed.
For frequent travelers,
terrible. It's disgusting, actually.
Bottled up traffic is nothing new, and navigating the expressways can be difficult, especially trying to get onto 490 from 390.
And you have to be very careful because you got to go over 3 or 4 lanes to get over there, and it's a little distressing at my age, actually.
Work on the Lyle Avenue Bridge began this week. commuters can expect more major changes in the coming weeks. Total price tag of this project is $150 million. The Department of Transportation is already telling people it might be best to find a different way to travel.
I'm here in 2 years. That could be the longest 2 years of my life.
Highway officials say the changes are needed to reduce congestion and improve safety in a spot where accidents are commonplace.
I think it's very well overdue.
Much of the work and lane closures will be done during the overnights. Spring brings construction season. This one will be a long one.
Everybody goes through it. These two bridges definitely need work, and so here we go.
Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News.
Ashes for Ash Wednesday?
On the first day of Lent.
Good morning, Ashes for Ash Wednesday?
Reverend Keith Patterson.
Good morning. Would you like Ashes for Ash Wednesday?
Is taking church.
Hi, would you like Ashes for Ash Wednesday?
To the streets.
It's not about bringing people into the church, but being a presence to the world.
For Christians,
remember that you are dust. Remember that you are dust. Remember that you are dust.
Ashes are a symbol of penance.
And unto dust you shall return.
Offering ashes to go is another sign of the times.
I think that's the key thing, is people don't have time to go to church. Their lives are overscheduled, and you're stardust. You're not just any kind of dust. Amen. And so we have to go out into the streets because that's where the people are.
Patterson came to the church known as Two Saints in October.
I passed my first 100 days.
This is the church's first time offering ashes to go.
You know what? It saved me a little bit of time this morning. I got to be a good Christian and get to work on time.
Remember that you are dust, and unto dust you shall return. Amen.
I think it's great. Go out in the street and meet the people. And we've had a wonderful reception. People don't always want to come inside a church.
It's a good success.
Patterson sees himself as part salesman and part PR man, doing the work of the Lord.
I think what my job is to at least in our tradition, to reclaim some of the bad press that Christianity has gotten, and remember that you are dust, and unto dust you shall return. Amen. For whatever reason, people are a little skeptical of institutions, and particularly the church. So this eases some of that distress.
In busy times, a parish,
and unto dust you shall return. Amen.
Is changing with the times.
We're going to make it a tradition.
A reminder that a church,
and unto dust you shall return. Amen.
Is much more than just a building.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Seth Voorhees.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Time Warner Cable News.